So tell me guys, where and when did you do your first marathons?
Shall I start there? I ran my first marathon in 1986. I was 38 years old at the time. It was in Cardiff, and it was a 2-lap course, and Alan Perkins ran with me for the first lap, first half, and then we parted company and I ran on my own. And at 21 miles I hit the wall and just crawled the last few miles, but managed to get under 3 hours. I managed to finish in 2 hours 55 minutes, and that was me and marathons finished. I never did another one. My first and last.
And that was in Cardiff?
In Cardiff, yes.
Alan, how about you?
My first was in Cardiff as well, funny enough. And I think it was 82. My brother-in-law was working in Cardiff at the time, and he'd seen the London Marathon. So he talked me into doing it. I was playing football at the time for the mighty Baglan Colts. And I thought it was ridiculous that we were going to run a marathon, but he talked me into it anyway, and we started training, not particularly seriously, but 4 of us decided to went to Cardiff then. And they had a training programme as well in the Western Mail. I used to buy the Western Mail every Saturday and follow the training programme. So the day before the marathon, you had to go up and collect your number in Cardiff. So only 3 of us done it in the end. My brother dropped out, he decided not to do it. So we went up to Cardiff and get our number, and when we were getting a number, they were asking, well, I thought it was a silly question, are you a blood donor? So me and my mate Diane said, yes, we are. Oh, do you mind if we take some blood then, the day before the marathon? So I said, yeah, no problem, right? So they took the blood out of their arm and they put a big plaster on it. And they said, don't take the plaster off. Don't take the plaster off, or might bleed. So the following day then, we were there at the start, and they recommended as well in the Western Mail to take some boiled sweets and suck them. They give you some energy. So I bought half a pound of Swansea mix, which I was carrying, but I was handing them out along the way. I only got as far as Culver's Cross. We used to go to Culver's Cross, down to Barry, up through Penarth, around the docks, up to Roth, and then back to finishing the centre of Cardiff. So, well, we were running along quite comfortably, and then we got to the top of Barry, and it said on the map, the part then was fast, down into Barry. So I said to my mate Di, could we drop my brother over this time? I said to Di, we got to run fast here, I said, because it says fast on the course. So we sprinted down into Barry, which obviously was a mistake, inexperience. And then we were suffering then when we were coming. We went through Penarth, and then we were going on Penarth Road into Cardiff, and we were counting the mile markers. And I said to Di, we've missed a mile marker. And he looked at his watch and he went, we haven't, we've only been running for 2 minutes. You know, then your head is going as well. So we got to the finish anyway. I can't remember the time, it's 3:15 or 3:20 anyway, which is quite good. So I said to Di, we could do better than this next time. And you won't believe it, he told me there is no next time, but not as politely as that. So we went through the funnel, and a bloke come on to us and said, come with me. Where are we going? He said, you gave blood yesterday? Yeah. We're going to take some more now. So they took us into the ambulance room. Well, Di wasn't going to run another one anyway. When he saw the people laying out flat, couldn't breathe, he definitely decided he wasn't going to do another one. So they took some blood again, then to check the difference between the blood, how much exercise had affected your blood. So Well, I quite enjoyed it. I carried on doing marathons. I had the bug, and I wanted to go into 3 hours as well. I think it took me about 6 or 7 attempts to get under 3 hours, but I did eventually do it. I went on. I done 21 marathons, and the good thing is you go all over the place, to run marathons, and you couldn't run it with world champions. They don't mind you running with them. Yeah.
My first was the London Marathon in '81, and I just felt it because I was a footballer in those days.
Yeah.
Nobody ran marathons, and I just had to train as best I could with very little information. I wasn't a member of a running club or anything else. Just to pick up a little bit of information off. Chris Brace used to write an article in the Observer newspaper on a Sunday morning, a little bit of training information. But that was about it, and I did feel very ignorant. I felt quite knowledgeable about various thoughts, but I didn't quite know the best way of approaching it. So it was a little bit hit and miss. I was training for football and trying to do some extra runs in while working, so it wasn't easy. And the dreaded thing of having lack of knowledge, I trained poorly and got injured just before the race, about a month before the race. So at that point we start to make, as we always do with any of these things, decisions as do you carry on or do you slow down or whatever. I was only 26, so I was reasonably quick if I wanted to be. But I ended up doing just over 3.5. And I was pleased with that, very pleased with that. But I ran with Julian Jenkins, who was a local vicar here a while ago in St Paul's, and he's a very, very good squash player locally, and he decided to do it independently, and I found out about this, so we started doing a little bit of training towards the end, and we decided to run together, just as you did in the Cardiff Marathon. We ran together, fine, except we got to about 20 miles, and he'd done a little bit less training than for me. He said, I'm struggling, you go on. He insisted I carry on, he'd have a little breather. So I carried on, and it realised at that point after 20 miles that I'd been running a little bit within myself. So for the next 3 or 4 miles, I got much quicker. And I was running past people. It's a great feeling when you're running past people.
Yeah.
Until about mile 24, and it caught up with me. And it just hit the wall, pure ignorance. No gels in those days, no extra carbs, no real knowledge about, nutrition seemed to be eat pasta the night before. That was about the level of knowledge. Yeah. And so I didn't start. I got over the line the last 2 miles, but it wasn't comfortable. So pleased to have it done. And yeah, like most people say, that's it, I've done it now, I've ticked that box, I've finished. And it was 25 years before I did another one. But when I did do the next one, I then really got the bug and wanted to do it every year. And it was quite an interesting experience, the first one. you and I together. John hasn't had this experience of doing additional ones yet.
I was the only one who got the bug then, because as I say, I was addicted then, and you'd run one, and then 3 weeks later you'd see, there's one in Birmingham now, I'll nip up to Birmingham now and do another one like that. But as I say, totally inexperienced, that's why it took me so long to get into 3 hours.
The bug never bit me.
No. Yeah. But as I say, when you go to places you wouldn't have gone, if I wasn't running marathons and
well, for me it's London every time, so it's the same place every time. I always wonder about the marathon races that were run in the early years, the sort of O'Brien, Ike O'Brien days. And somebody said to me recently, perhaps they were not measured accurately. I said, well, even if they were not, they were running in very poor conditions, very poor footwear, very poor nutrition. No one had a great deal of knowledge of the best way of doing things. And I'm in awe of the sort of times that they repeatedly did.
They were fast.
Very difficult conditions. The training they must have done was incredible.
The thing is, I ran the Welsh Marathon from Leith to Talbot, over the Swansea Docks and back to Court Urban in Leith, and only 200 in the race. And that was like early 80s, it's 84 probably. And that was when the running boom started. Yeah. So when Jim O'Brien and people like that were running, there could have been a dozen people or something like that in a marathon. It was, there was no
but most of them were quite dedicated. Most of them were good athletes.
Oh yeah, you ought to be,
And as I say, the level of training, I'm always impressed when I look back at, I didn't come back into athletics till into my 50s, but I look back at some of the members of the club who trained all the way through that time, through those 70s, 80s, 90s and so on. Yeah. And their training diaries are very impressive when you look at the training.
Mine wasn't.
Your training consisted of liquid nutrition, as I recall, Alan. But lots of people did amazing mileages and were rewarded. It's great times.
If I'd done 50 miles a week, I had to lay down. I never got high mileage in it. I think that's why you don't get injured either if you don't do high mileage.
That's your excuse.
I was busy working, so 3 children, went back to college at one point as well, you can't fit it all in, as you say, And I was never one for high mileage. I did get to 90 miles one week. I ran, it was Carmarthen 10k, and I was off over Christmas. So I was running over the bulk to Carmarthen, then running the 10k, then running back. But I didn't really count the running over and running back. And then when I worked it out at the end of the week, I thought, God, I'd done 90 miles, but it wasn't high intensity.
There's a difference. Now, when I trained in the early years, I would use my car to get a rough idea of how far a mileage was. I would work it out.
I used to do that.
Yeah. But in these days, I wear a watch that will tell me how many heartbeats I had every minute. It will tell me exactly the location, where I crossed the road from one pavement to another. It will locate everything that I wish. It can log my sleep. It can tell how many hours of light sleep I've had and all the rest of it. And the level of information we had is you might have had a watch that could tell you the time. You might have had a car that could measure approximately the distance, and you just did the rest of the sums yourself.
Yeah.
I would tend to train on time, so I'd go for a run of an hour, or I'd go for a run, and I'd just measure that, whatever the distance was, and I'd be, I suppose, running on feel most of the time, whether it's a hard run or an easy run, because we didn't have the technology.
I measured all my road runs in the car first, and then I just stuck to those. And when I trained on the track, obviously 400 metres, so you know exactly what you've done.
The thing is, if you use the same course, repeatedly, it doesn't matter the distance. You know you're getting better. I used to run. I used to do 20 miles on a Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, and I used to run up to Resolve and back. And when my mate went on his motorbike, and he said it was 20 miles, so I just took it as 20 miles. But then, it would be like 2.5 hours, and then I got it down to 2 hours 8, and you know you get faster, you get better. It might be, 19.5 miles or whatever, but that was irrelevant. It was
the time,
the time, that you knew you were getting better, so you didn't have to worry.
I tried to use circular routes, and I'd run the same way round, perhaps 3, 4, 5 times, and then run the opposite way then for 3 or 4. And it's surprising the difference it makes running the other way around. Because it's like a new course, looking at things from a different perspective. So it kept you fresher then, rather than getting stale doing the same route all the time.
Well, the Resolve one is quite good because you run up, the right-hand side of the valley, and then come back down, the left-hand side. It was the old A465 then. It wasn't, there wasn't what I call dual carriage there. So
but when you started training there for longer distances generally, maybe for cross-country, did you do varieties of training? Did you do interval training? Did you do tempo training? Did you do easy runs?
Yes.
You did. Did you? Or did you just run?
Just run, basically.
That's interesting.
My training always consisted of, I trained 7 days a week. Monday was easy, usually, 5, 6, 7 miles. Because very often we'd have a race on a Sunday. Tuesday, I always did a hill session. 6 times half a mile uphill and then jog back. Wednesday was a semi-long run, 8